Hello, House of Mouse Reviews here for today's fairly quick review. Um, I figured I'd just get this done because I thought I could talk about it for a little bit and not go too overboard with spoilers. But anyway, Moana 2, yes, the sequel to the smash hit Disney film from 2016. Well, okay, one of the smash hit Disney films from 2016, and before the other one gets its own sequel next year. Yeah. And well. I guess I should mention what I think of the first film. I really enjoyed Moana. It's a really charming, very chill movie. With great animation, great characters, great songs. Yeah, it was really a when you think of films of the Disney princess films that came out of the last decade. Tangled, Frozen, and Moana. I think Moana's definitely my favorite of those three films. Um, it's and I mean, I think of just how much it was a huge success. I mean, just with the culture of Polynesian backgrounds, stuff, and I think that was one of the first. I think probably The Rock's first major successful movie when it comes to critical ratings. Like seriously, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but when Moana came out, it really propelled Dwayne the Rock Johnson further than what he was beforehand in terms of his film career. I mean, we all knew his his WWE work, wrestling days. I mean that they helped, but in terms of his film career, that was one that really pushed him. I mean, yeah, you could also say, I guess, the Fast and the Furious films, but I think it was Moana that really took it further. But anyway, going into this, I was a little bit s- skeptical, mainly due to the fact that it took a very long time for Disney to announce that this was their film for this year. I mean, keep in mind, I don't think it was until maybe about March or April that they confirmed that this was what they were doing this year, because it took a while. Weird. I mean, they announced that they were doing Zootopia next year. They announced the Frozen 3 and 4. Yeah, they're coming out. It took a while for them to announce this, and maybe there was red flags. I mean, but with that said, what do I think of it? It's good. And what does everyone else think? Uh, Good. Yeah, it's interesting. This is probably one of the most play it safe films I think this year. And I'll just get on to the plot. So, taking place, I think, I don't know, maybe a year or two after the first film. Moana is exploring other islands, continuing on her new role as a waykeeper or wayfinder, whatever the name is, I forget. When she sent when she's about to and when she discovers an ancient relic that seems to indicate there are other people that from that exist on other islands other than her own. Thrilled by this excitement, she later gets a vision from her ancestors, telling informing her that a malevolent god uh, is is going is set to unleash a catastrophe or wipe out all her entire clan or their history or something like that. Well, and the only way to stop it is to find an ancient island that that this god sank, and only Maui can bring it back up to the surface. No, so she heads off to find this mysterious island and takes a bunch of a few of the islanders, and her closest friends among them with her. They eventually find Maui, who is originally trying to keep Moana out of this, fearing for her safety because of their actions in the previous film. And that's all I can really say. There's probably more I could say, but I mean, I think this film this is definitely, it's really hard to say. I can't say this is the quality and pointlessness as a lot of the Disney straight-to-video sequels from the late 90s, early 2000s, but in many ways it does sort of have that feel. It's not as bad, spectacularly awful as them, or cheap cash grabs. There is a budget. There is a budget to this. I mean, the animation still looks great. The voice acting is all good. You know, it does help, and you can sort of say they are trying to hype up a bit of a mystery of finding other people in the ocean across the sea, which can be interesting for a tribe that thinks they're the only people that exist. I can see that working, but just that's really about it. It just gives you some cool ideas, but you think some good ideas, but they don't really evolve it too much. It's just like, oh, we're on another adventure again. Let's go for it. And it just seems like it's following the same story beats as the original. I mean, you got to have certain songs that match the tone of tone of the ones in the first film. Even though Manuel Miranda didn't return to do them, it's someone else. Instead, he's working on the songs for Mufasa, the Lion King. Yeah. 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 Anyway, uh, I mean, we also have a new director in this. I mean, it's Ron Close and John Musker have obviously now retired. Well, okay, one of them has. I'm not sure which one is still working on something else for another company. But yeah, so we have a different set of directors, and I feel like they just want to, go just repeat the formula from the first film. It's just very. You can definitely tell that these sorts of things that the fact that there's no Musker, no Clemens, or Manuel Miranda, that the people they brought in just want to sort of do the same thing, just with slight differences, and these differences are just very weak. I mean, the songs they just you can definitely tell which ones they're trying to emulate from the first film. Yeah, they could say they have they're different lyrics and have some different beats, but the one song, but they're not that grand and epic. I think the song in particular, I think the two songs that stand out to me that emulate is Maui song, and this which I just forget for the rock. I think still is someone having a fun time singing it, and well, that song that Moana sings with her shipmates when they first start off their journey to get them hyped in the mood and following her orders. Like, okay, it was just boring. Yeah, it's unfortunate with that, and and then again, it's when it comes well, the pre characters in the first one are good. I mean, Moana is still herself, but she does seem a little bit more wiser and a lot more free and open, I guess. And Maui is also not as much of a uh he does show his maturity from the first film, but the new characters, I mean, they're just Moana's friends who are helping around on a mission across the sea. They're okay, just not. Just wish I could have had more. Like, one is a shipbuilder who seeks to modify all the boat that they're on, even though Moana thinks they shouldn't. One is a knows a lot about the ancient history and of the gods, and it has a man crush over Maui. Yeah, and the other is the old grouchy person who grows all plants and food for them, and he just doesn't want to get involved and with well, as much as his companions want him to, like, jeez, and yeah, the animal sidekicks and the animal sidekicks, I mean, the pig from the first film, he didn't really have much, wasn't really involved too much, and that nearly gave him more of a role, but he's still not really too much, yeah. Um, Moana's little sister, yeah, I don't know, what she really needed, I mean, yeah, I know she was born at the end of the first film, but like, I don't know, you could have left, I don't know if you could have had her be, I don't know, she just, She reminds me of a fair bit of mixture of Coda mixed with a bit of uh, um, yeah, Coda from Brother Bear and I guess Rajan, Mowgli's adopted brother in the Jungle Book too. That's what I get, and I don't really. Well, well, I think Coda is not too bad. I mean, I don't know. It just she's just uh, the villain, this god that wants to stop Moana on her mission. He doesn't speak. In fact, you don't really see what his true form is. I mean, he's just a storm, and it's just you could see. Okay, in the moment, you could feel like it's okay. That's pretty cool, but if unless you actually understand a bit of why he's doing what he is, I mean, you could have had Maui sort of be the only one who can actually hear, communicate with him in some capacity. Then that could work, but it just doesn't work in this. And then there's that vampire esque lady who traps Maui in that fish or giant clam and tries to doesn't want Moana to, apparently doesn't want Moana to get even close to or well wants to Moana to come so she can lead her off the straight path and it's some sort of villain song but she's not even really an, a villain, in fact she's not even a rival. She just shows up, has a song to lead her off the straight path, which I think is going to lead somewhere, but no, it's just all it does is just let her lets her just open up the path. Okay, maybe that's the goal. Maybe I'm getting a Mephiles from Psycho 6 vibe or something like that. But no, she just waves goodbye. It's all fine. Yada yada yada. I hear there was a mid-credit scene with her, which I didn't watch. I just left the cinema after the when the credits started rolling. I just didn't really feel the need to stay put. She's yeah, it's just whatever. You know, in fact, Maui is pretty much pointless for the first half of the film. Like, until until Moana's companions find him in the giant clam, like, he doesn't really need to. You could have had him show up then, but, or something, or just have a brief appearance, but this time we see him trapped, it's just like, do you really need to show that? Yeah, it's just, it's so strange, like, man. There is, if there is one thing that does uh, get me a little bit interested. And I'm not gonna go into full on spoilers, but it is with the ending. There's a point where Maui has to save Moana, um, uh, after she completes her task, and Maui witnesses something that happens to her. And look, I'm not going to tell you what exactly happens, but what what Moana gains at this point, um, uh, is a very can lead to very interesting things if they were to make a third film. I mean, in particular, with what she gains, would this change the fact how things are in on her island? I mean, we know she's meant to eventually be the future leader. Well, with what she gains at this, maybe she's meant to have a higher purpose and has to be more with Maui. And and how this will affect her relationship with her sister. This is interesting. It can have some interesting things. And I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, Disney's probably done this before with with some of their other films, in particular one of their films from the Disney Renaissance." But I think it can work, especially considering it could work better than how that film went about, because it'll be its third film in a series. So you can kind of see a bit of evolution. It it can work, and it does lead to some interesting things. Um, but with that said, that's really about it. The thing is, I should mention, I don't hate this movie. I don't think it's bad. It's not. I don't think it's not anyway. it's nowhere near the quality of Wish or Strange World, but it's nothing high. I probably consider this more in the territory of Lightyear, Elemental, and Turning Red. To be fair, this is like, yeah. I think this actually Lightyear is probably the closest thing to compare it to. It's just it's a thing, It's just a thing. I don't know whether the change of people who were involved from the first film was a major factor in it. It could have been, probably was, but it's just very, very underwhelming. And you know, though Pixar was able to make some sort of return to greatness with Inside Out, or return to a bit of get some mojo back with Inside Out 2, and Marvel Studios was able to regain some footing with Deadpool and Wolverine. Disney with Moana 2 isn't didn't really regain. Well, I can't really say they improved from what they did showed us in last year for their 100th anniversary. It just seems like it was just thrown in there. I mean, as I said, we didn't even know this was going to their film for this year until uh about April, May, March, April, whatever. Um, it just seems like maybe this was just thrown in here to make some money, considering the losses that they had over the last couple of years. And it's showing. It's doing pretty well so far at the box office. Maybe maybe it's just a budget release before we get to Zootopia 2 next year, which, you know, I don't know. I mean, at this stage, so far the only Disney sequel that is actually better than the original is still The Rescuers Down Under. So it's going to be every other film. Well, they can have either great moments that are on par with the first film, but are still inconsistent, like Fantasia 2000. Sequel films that we don't even that they it's hard to even tell if they are a sequel or not, like Winnie the Pooh or Vote. And of course, we have those that just leave people very divided over whether they're good or not, like Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2. So it's very much of a roll of the dice of whether Disney's theatrical sequels can actually uh, can even come close to even being on par. Well, actually, no, on par can sort of qualify a bit on some of them, but if we can actually get a Disney sequel that can exceed the first film, maybe Zootopia could. Maybe it's also being released at the right time, much like the first film was. Um, but I won't know till next year. Though to be fair, I don't know if they might end up delaying it, you know, in 2026. There's a lot of big name franchises that are going to get their return to the cinemas next in 2026. Oh, look at the sequels we're getting for so far in 2026: Toy Story 5, Shrek 5, Ice Age 6, the Super Mario Bros. Sequel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem sequel. I think there's a few others as well. Uh, I don't, maybe Beyond the Spider-Verse. I'm not too sure about that. I'll double check. Oh, Paw Patrol. Patrol that's getting a sequel that year. Avatar's getting its next film in that year too. Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Um, yeah, there's I think Paul McCartney signed the Clouds that year as well. There is a lot coming out in 2026, and I'm surprised Disney hasn't uh, announced what they're doing. I mean, it was going to be Frozen 3, but then they pushed it back to 2027. So I guess we'll have to find out what happens. But that's 2 years away. And Zootopia 2 at this stage is next year, so maybe that'll be the success, both financial and critical. But for Moana 2, it's a 6.1 out of 10 has stars from me. It's just eh, it's okay. For me, I think you just bet for family films in the Christmas period, I suggest you either wait for a couple more weeks where you'll get Paddington in Peru, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, as well as the return of Wallace and Gromit for whatever theaters that Netflix releases it in, you know. But yeah, um, that's Moana 2. In terms of what's next, hopefully be a big video coming up, which I'm working on as we speak. Just gotta get my notes all sorted. But in the meantime, Passive Master Users out, and I shall see you next time. Ciao.